Hey, may I first ask this question? What are you listening this episode on? Your sophisticated smartphone, laptops, and in some cases your iPads, right? Well, you must be wondering that why is Sanya asking such obvious questions? And apart from all, why didn't this episode start the usual way her podcast does? To think about, it is so because this is not an usual episode. In this episode, we talk about the digital era, and while it makes our life luxurious and of course comes at a cheaper price these days, it certainly trades with our mental and physical health. While most of you will wonder that Sanya, we already know how and to what extent are these digital devices harmful to us. But there is no proper solution to it, as it is inevitable. Well, you're right. And that is why we are here with this episode, Digital Detox, to talk about how to detoxify or purify our mind and body of all the junk that this word digital has directly or indirectly brought to our personal and professional lives. For those people who are still in doubt that who is she to tell us what should we do in our lives? Well, let me mention that we are going to have a very special guest who will be speaking to you after my boring words of useless wisdom. So to avail that bonus, stay tuned till the end. To the episode, Digital Detox. Let's start this episode with some facts. The number of people using internet worldwide stood at 5.3 billion this year, which means that around 2/3 of the global population is currently connected to the World Wide Web. While this shows the positive side of connection, but there are people who take offs and go to mountains just to disconnect themselves from all of these. But is this solution sustainable? Is it sustainable to exhaust ourselves for 3 complete months and then take a break of 7 days while few don't even get it? Can't there be any other solution to it? If yes, then what is it? And even before we go to the solution, let's first understand why do we even need of detoxifying in the first place? Well, do you know why are there more and more number of people going through anxiety, ADHD and facing issues like excessive anger and lack of focus? The reason may seem very absurd to you, but one of the underlying causes for this is Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. They force our mind to think that every 30 seconds something new will happen or come up. And when it does not happen in our lives, we get anxious. This has led to decrease in our patience levels and increase in our anger, especially in teenagers. While this was just the mental impact, we are already aware of the enormous number of physical impacts like backache, eye strain, and many more. Since now we know why do we even need detoxification or purification in our lives, we can finally invite the guest speaker for this episode, who is none other than my yoga instructor, a lawyer turned yogini, one of the sweetest persons I've ever met so far, and one of the most appropriate person to talk on this topic. Heartiest welcome to you, ma'am, on my podcast.
Hello, I am Niharika Yenesi and I am a founder of a small organization called Yoga with Yenesi, where we are working with the goal of taking yoga and traditional holistic yogic techniques to as many places as we can. And I must thank you for bringing me on board for this specific topic about how digital detox, how this increased amount of screen time is taking us further and further away from the bigger picture about what life is. And I must commend you for somebody your age, because I see people my age, I'm 31, I see people my age spiraling and going into an increased obnoxious amount of screen time It may be related to work, it may be just doom scrolling. So I have to appreciate someone your age taking this up as a task, taking this up as a topic to talk about, because I think it's about time.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for these kind words of appreciation. The episode is now all yours to take it forward.
Now, I have a history of working as a lawyer for about 6 years. And तब भी मैं देखती थी, because we would spend as lawyers, as litigation lawyers, when we go to court, we end up spending a long time just standing and waiting for the matter to reach, so that your case can be heard. Now that's when I caught myself doing this. I don't think I would say that I caught myself, because at that time I thought this is absolutely normal for me to do that. Everyone's standing outside, some people are talking, you're also talking to some people, but then there comes a point when you're just waiting and you want to make yourself look busy, and there are so many things for you to read. So I would just pull out my phone, and eventually I started carrying an iPad also. So I would just pull out whichever device that I would have for reading, and I would start reading. Of course, if you're standing in a crowded place, sometimes it's hot, sometimes you're indoors, it's not the most ideal place. I'm neither able to concentrate nor am I able to make a lot of progress, but I was doing that. Over a period of time, by the time I left litigation, I saw that I wasn't, it was like an epidemic. Everybody is carrying an iPad. Everyone's who could afford it, whose office promoted this kind of a culture, was trying to make the best of the time they had by looking into their screen. Now, this is a situation जहाँ पे आपके पास option नहीं है. You don't have a choice. You have a lot of time in your hand and you're like, okay, might as well do this. But then, I saw it happen with me, and I saw it happen with so many people around me when I looked around in the courtrooms. If they had good internet connectivity, everybody was on Instagram. Everybody was scrolling through reels. But then again, this is pre-pandemic or during the pandemic when I was in this particular field. And I saw how I am taking myself away from that moment. It's not that I had a lot to do in that moment, but that is still that there is a need for me to work more, and there is my screen giving me the placebo effect ki, okay, now you're reading, so you're doing more work. So as 2022 I started teaching yoga, and this year I have focused my energies on offering a service called Workplace Wellness, where I am taking traditional holistic yoga techniques to office spaces. We design a 6 to 8 month program, and all we tell a particular organization wherever we are conducting this is कि आप हमें बुलाइए, आप हफ्ते में एक बार बुलाइए, and we will do one session per week for whatever 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And we don't need to lay out mats. Even if you have a small conference room which can accommodate as many people who can attend the session, let's say every Tuesday morning at 10 or every Friday evening at 4:30. We do that, and वो change the progress where we in a way are forcing people in that 45 minutes ka session. We are telling people, we are literally forcing people to shut their eyes and keep it shut for 5 minutes straight. It is so hard. It has become so hard to do that, क्योंकि हमारा mind चाहता है कि हमें कोई external support मिले, और आज के time में ये external support होता है हमारा screen. More often than usual, it is your phone screen. So how I try to inculcate the value of being present in the moment, be it in my online class or workplace wellness or any workshop that I'm conducting, is that I am trying to make the participants see the value of taking their attention inwards.
That is such an amazing initiative, ma'am. Really, kudos to you. Well, ma'am, I would just like to interrupt you for a second, asking the question that, is scrolling really always bad?
Now, like what I was saying कि हमारे mind को support की ज़रूरत होती है, that is very true. If you close your eyes or if you don't close your eyes, you are either thinking about something, you're looking at something, or you're paying attention to something. Usually ये चीज़ें हमारे past की कुछ होती थी कि we have certain thoughts in our head, we are doing an activity, but we have found ourselves in a time where we are constantly scrolling. And it's not that all of this scrolling is bad. Like I gave you the example of being in a courtroom. Sometimes it really helps to have the files for the next matter in front of me in my iPad, because while I wait for one case to be heard, I can quickly skim through the notes from the other case so that I'm prepared for it. So it is a huge benefit for me. Otherwise, I would have to take out a 1000-page bulky file and go through it. तो इसके advantages भी हैं, but इसके disadvantage यही है कि हम immerse होके अपने आप को खो जाते हैं. And this day and age of content creation, where content is easily available at the tip of our thumb, and we may have different kind of hobbies. You may like mountaineering, I may like dogs, you may like to see videos of sea creatures. Instagram, YouTube, all these platforms give us access to visuals which is so pleasing and so interesting that it takes us completely away from where we are in that moment. Coming to the next question that I have in front of me, how did I start, or how did I understand the importance of digital detox? I did mention about my litigation days where I found myself looking at the screen. Now, before 2022, while I was still in the legal profession, I did get drawn towards content. I did get drawn towards, and I did have an increased screen time doing things watching things that really made no difference at that point. But looking back, I feel that I was just looking at a lot of inspirational content. I was consuming a lot of yoga, a lot of aerial acrobatics, and achieve your dreams, go after your dreams. So in a way, it really pushed me and motivated me ki yaar, if somebody else can do it, why can't I give it a shot? While I was taking a sabbatical, I had no intentions of leaving the legal profession completely. I felt that okay, I will take a break from litigation and then I will make a switch and I will probably work for a company as a legal counsel. But one thing led to another, and even at the time when I was doing my yoga teacher training, I was clear. The day I was graduating, I was clear. I will never become a yoga teacher. This course I did for my satisfaction, for my practice, and for my parents' yoga practice. And yet here I am. So digital media, the excessive amount of content hit me again at this point. So because this another thing was that while I did my teacher training in 2022 September, I had started my own personal daily yoga practice back in April of 2021. And incidentally so, my Instagram handle, I had been sharing stories since I think after 10 days after I started practicing. And each story that I would upload, I would write, okay, today is day 165, today is day 224. That built credibility for me, for my dedication towards yoga. So a year and a half after that, in September when I did the course, people who were following me were like, whoa, are you going to be teaching? We want to learn. And I was like, nahin, I don't intend on teaching. I'm looking for jobs in the legal industry. But I actually got an idea and I thought, okay, let's wing it. Let's see if I can teach, and let's see if I can teach online. And during the pandemic, I attended so many online dance classes, and I was really in awe with a lot of my teachers about how meticulously, how much attention they were paying to detail in an online class. So I thought, okay, let's see how this goes. And I thought, okay, let me try it temporarily. So I created a little bit of content, announced that, okay, I'm going to start teaching yoga, and I ended up with 3 batches. 3 batches, and I was undercharging at that point, and I was making about half of what I was making as a lawyer when I left my last job. So I thought, okay, there is potential. There is definitely something that I can do over here. And I was like, okay, let's go at it. Let's do this. I turned my personal Instagram account into a professional Instagram account, and that's when I started spiraling, and I got absolutely caught up in this whole idea that, okay, I need to create content and I need to educate people, or I need to tell people that I'm teaching, and I need to generate business. I need to get students to my class and make a living out of this. I am not going to lie that I have spent hours, just hours, looking at more yoga content that I can replicate, that I can recreate. And I have struggled. I was not good at strategizing what I should create. I was not good at understanding what Instagram is expecting out of me. And if you do go back on my profile, the kind of content I was creating like 2021 December, it was, I'm not saying my content right now is great, but that was just, मुझे देख के लगता है कि oh my god, I can't believe that was me. And genuinely, I have really and I have looked at a lot of influencers, yoga influencers, and been like, wow, they have like thousands and thousands and lakhs of followers, and they have so many people coming to their class. So I want that. and I tried working towards it, and I really struggled. I cannot lie how much I struggled, and I cribbed so much about it. It was making my life miserable. Whole of 2023, I would say, I spent a really long time trying to build my Instagram account without actually knowing कि मैं क्या कर रही हूँ. But I was like, चलो ठीक है, try करते हैं. My screen time increased, and by I think I was so stressed out last year, October, September, that I was getting overly anxious. I was constantly looking at my phone, and my parents were very sympathetic, like they could see, like sometimes my mom would be sitting next to me and I would be editing a reel, and she would just look at me कि आजकल के बच्चे तुम एक्चुअली काम कर रही हो, वो मुझे लग रहा है कि तुम टाइम वेस्ट कर रही हो. क्या हो गया है आजकल के ज़माने में कि तुम इतना काम कर रही हो. And I struggled, I kept struggling. October 2023 onwards, I started to turn my focus totally towards online classes. And yoga also has seasons. Yoga teaching also has seasons. We have students registering very comfortably from April to, let's say, November, or maybe even December, mid-December. Winters when people don't want to come for yoga classes as much. So October I decided कि okay, let's focus on online classes and content creation, and let's try to become an influencer. Let's try to get more followers. And I was barely making any progress. So then winter hit. But this whole silver lining thing happened with me at that time, that this group of yoga teachers who work together and they organize retreats, they have online classes, they got in touch with me and they were like, okay, we want you to work with us. We will send students your way, and you give us a commission per student per month, and you do other work also for us. I was elated because this group was led and founded by a yoga influencer who had like 8.5-9 lakh followers, and I was like, wow, that is insane. I will get to learn from her. I will have a team of people, so if I have a project which needs me to travel to another city, my online classes don't suffer and my work will not suffer, and I will have people in my class. And it just so happened that I took this in my stride and I took it as an opportunity ki, okay, let's learn from the people who know how it's done, how to build your own social media. But it was so consuming, my God, all the instructions. Of course, like there was of course an understanding, difference of understanding between how much they wanted me to spend, how much time they wanted me to spend doing the task that they were assigning to me, and how much I wanted to contribute. And of course, payment ka bhi issue tha. They wanted me to just work for them, and just being associated by them should have been like a compensation or remuneration for me. So I did that for January, February, and February I started collapsing because I can see that I barely have any people coming through this organization in my online classes. I am giving this like 10 hours of my time. This is more stressful than my job as a lawyer, and my income has really taken a hit. And I'm doing my best to learn about how content creation works. And I mean, on one hand, I'm told that, okay, we are all together and no one's senior, no one's junior. But I am learning from people, right? So I know that मुझे इनसे सीखने को मिल रहा है. And they also know that she's learning from me. So they treated me in a way which, in so many ways, I thought, okay, this is not proper. And after 3 months, I got an opportunity on my own, like my usual work that I had an opportunity where I was given a chance to take yoga sessions for an IPL team. Now when that happened, it really opened my eyes, and that reminded me and that told me ki, brother, you are a yoga teacher. This is what you're supposed to do, not make graphics, not make reels, not make carousels. And you're spending your time and energy doing something which you didn't like. You're again a part of an organization which is telling you what to do, how to do, when to do, and that's not the kind of work that you enjoy. So I really thought about it a lot, and I tried to understand how I can be a part of this organization, but then I eventually had to part ways. And then I did the best thing that I could have done as far as decreasing my screen time and my stress levels and anxiety that was all happening because of all the time that I was spending on Instagram and all my energy that I was spending on trying to be more productive, trying to learn better about the app and grow my business and have more students in my class. is that I hired a social media manager. I had finally reached a point in my career after about a year and a half of working where I could afford to have somebody else be a part of my team and have somebody who's professional, who likes to do this just the way I like to teach yoga. And my life changed like for the better, because I was anyway struggling to figure out strategies. I was anyway struggling to do a lot of shoot with just me and my tripod or another colleague with me. And my social media manager came as such a delight. I mean, we struggled, I would say first few months we struggled because she was also new to yoga, so it took some time for me to understand her style of working, her to understand what am I expecting, and what do I stand for as a teacher and entrepreneur. But all the time that I would spend on Instagram in the name of research, looking at content, came to an end. And she was able to optimize things for me that I have seen a significant amount of growth in my online classes, जिसके लिए मुझे Instagram को optimize करना था.
I apologize for interruption, ma'am, but I would really like to add a bit of my content creation journey here for my listeners. The fact that I didn't have my Instagram account, neither professional nor personal, before I started this podcast. Even after this podcast was going to be around a year old, and I still didn't have an Instagram account. And it was when I did an episode with one of the journalists of Times of India, and who highlighted me, who pointed it out to my eyes, that what are you even doing with your podcast? Like, do you have any other medium to publicize it? And I was like, no. Which was when I realized the importance of social media to be able to reach audience, to be able to reach followers. Because initially it would be just Spotify and some of my connections over WhatsApp that I would send it to them personally and on WhatsApp status and all. But I guess Instagram is such a powerful tool that has helped me reach so many audience, including probably listeners from 19 different countries. And I'm still figuring it out. I guess it was like a month back or so that I got to know how do you tag someone in your story without even letting other people know that you tagged them. Like, these small things are something that everyone looks forward to. These small hacks and like hashtags. It was my roommate, ma'am, who told me that if you just put a hashtag like this, it can go viral. And that helped me so much in my reels. And I had no clue how this entire industry works. And I think it was really, really, really smart of you to be able to hire a social media manager, and I pray that I become successful enough, or I'm able to afford my team of my own in the future so that I can manage my Instagram handle effortlessly. I know it's boring, everyone, but I really want to share this story as I could so badly relate to this struggle with content creation, and I'm still going through it. But yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing this with us, because it's not that easy to share the days of your struggle with people listening to you from so many different countries. Yeah, it's just hard, and thank you so much for sharing that with us.
So yeah, I was the point that I was trying to make is it's very easy to become a victim of the algorithm, be it for a creator or be it for a consumer. It's important to realize कि हमारा attention span पहले शायद 30 सेकंड था, 30 सेकंड से 15 सेकंड हुआ, 15 सेकंड से whenever Instagram algorithm dictates that okay, it's only encouraging 5 to 6 seconds की reel, our attention span is dependent on that. I think it's time for us to realize that this is problematic. It's messing up with our posture and all the things that you said at the beginning of the session.
Now that we talked about our irresistible nature towards social media, how do you think we can take our time out from this digital world?
I think it is established कि इसकी ज़रूरत है. Digital media is good for us, spending it comes with its benefits, but it also has its cons. So yoga as a lifestyle has this one simple rule, that you do whatever that you do, you just do it in moderation. You don't go crazy obsessive about your asana abhyas. You don't go crazy obsessive about a certain thing that you like to do in your life. Let's say go out for a dinner. Please go out. Please eat whatever that you want to in moderation. If we do everything in moderation, it brings us to a sum total of lack of obsession over anything or any activity or any person. And when we are not obsessed with anything or anyone, we are a little more balanced. And that is yoga. So for my online students and my regular students who come to class, my goal is कि हाँ ठीक है हम आसन कर रहे हैं, but apart from that we will spend at least 2 days in a week where we are going to spend at least 15 minutes on our breath, number one, or we will do some kriya. It could be just chanting, it could be gazing straight at a flame of a candle, anything that takes your attention away from these things which give you like a temporary kick of dopamine, because that's what social media does, that's what excessive screen time does. And another thing that I've noticed, because I was raised and I went to college at a time जब हम किताबों से पढ़ते थे and not online content, is that YouTube gives you lessons and how to study and what to study and how to solve that problem. So I see a lot of youngsters also ending up spending a lot of time because they are studying and they're using material which is online. So I feel that it is all the more important and it's all the more necessary for us to take some time off of our usual life and spend some time with ourselves, without the phone, without the laptop, without any screen.
Ma'am, would you like to give some tips to our listeners who are listening to us today and have joined with us so that they can also become centered and focused at times when they feel really distracted?
But all that you have to do is sit down, close your eyes, count till 4, breathe in, exhale, count till 4, breathe out, and bring it up comfortably in your own time. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, from counting to 4 to making it to counts of 6. And when you open your eyes after that, you will see how much more calmer you are, how much more centered, and how much better focus you have in that moment.
That is such an effective yet easy method. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing that with us.
Any program that I conduct, मेरा goal ही यही होता है, to give people an opportunity to turn their attention inwards. Because we have a lot going on outside. Like for instance, right now where I'm sitting, there are 5 trees that I can see. While I am talking about the things that we're talking about in today's podcast and I'm looking at the notes that I've prepared for it, I can see that there are these 3 squirrels which are just staring at each other. So it's just natural. Your mind is going to take you in directions which could be totally unnecessary. And that is what excessive social media use, excessive screen time is doing to ourselves. So it is important, and I'm again very happy and very proud to see somebody your age talking about this, raising this issue and creating this podcast and sharing it with other people around you. So that's definitely commendable.
I really want you to be raw about what you learned as a yoga teacher and as a content creator. Like your experiences, totally raw.
I have learned in my 2 years as a yoga teacher and content creator is that we live in a very dangerous age of influencers. And social media has created this parallel reality where everyone present there is trying to show the best day that they have, the best vacation that they had, the best view that they saw, the best sunset, the best dinner, the best breakfast, the best of everything. This is just regular people. And then there are influencers who are going to give you a certain picture about themselves. I can talk about yoga because like I mentioned, I've worked with a few influencers apart from the one that I mentioned. When you work with people, you see different facets of their life. Like if you and I spend 4 days with each other, like we spent some time where you were attending each class in June of the workshop that I was conducting, you get to see you got to see me for that 1 hour every single day. Now if you and I spend 4 days together where we travel together, yes, we will have our own space, but we eat together, we will find out more about each other. We will find out what the other person is comfortable eating, how much mirchi can you have, how much salt is tolerable for me. So my observation was that जब हम कोई मूवी बनाते हैं ना, when we go to watch a movie, there's a script, there's a director, there's a producer, there are makeup artists. It is the same for influencers. they show what they want you to see, and more often than usual it is far away from reality. And so like I said, I come from a background where I was a lawyer for 6 years, and lawyers don't have a lot of time for themselves, especially young lawyers. You wake up, you go to court, and court gets done by 4:30, and then you're working till like whatever 8 9, then you come home, eat, spend some time with your family, and then you sleep. And then I have social media influencers who are yoga influencers talking about how you should wake up at 4. Yes, that is ideal. You should wake up at 4, but that that kind of content is making these lawyers, the ones who are thinking in the direction, feel terrible about themselves, that I'm living a terrible life. I'm not able to make time for myself. But the situation is not the same for them as it is for an influencer. You actually don't know whether she's actually waking up at 4 every day or not. She's creating content and putting it every day. You don't know whether that's her or that there's a team behind her. But somebody who came back home from work, which happens with a lot of my students because they are lawyers, that if you came back home only at 10 p.m., you are going to need to take some time out for your family. And if you actually end up sleeping before 12, and there is no way you can sleep at 8 because you're still at work, it puts a lot of pressure on you when you look at an alternative lifestyle, and it makes you feel like, oh shit, I'm not doing enough for myself. I'm not good enough for my own body. I need to be putting in more effort. So that is dangerous. That this realization that not everything you see on social media is real, not everything that you see in social media is something you should try to strive for, are very, very, very important.
That is so rightly said, ma'am. So rightly said.
Again, screen time is something that we need to limit, but it's not a bad thing to spend time online or spend time looking at social media. It is a part of my bread and butter, to be very honest. But there is a line that we all have to decide for ourselves, and I cannot tell you, Sania, the number of times I slip up. I decide कि okay, I don't need to spend a lot of time on Instagram because I have somebody else who's taking care of it. But I slip up, and I end up spending like 2-3 days. I'm in bed and I forgot to take my phone aside at the time that I usually do, and I find myself scrolling at reels and looking at what my friends have posted, and then I catch myself and I'm like, okay, no, this is where you have to take a step back. Slip up सबके साथ होता है, but the idea is to hold yourself accountable, hold yourself responsible, understand what is real, understand the impact that it has on your physical and mental well-being. Because while we are younger, while we are in our 20s, while we are in our 30s, the habits that we build will have a lasting impact on the rest of our lives, will have a lasting impact on the families that we create, the associations that we have.
Adding to what you said, ma'am, about Instagram FOMO and how people, they think low about their lives just seeing some of the pictures of others on Instagram showing the best day of their lives. Well, I think that this is not limited to Instagram now, and it has been extended to a very, very, very famous professional app called LinkedIn. I think it's been months now that I've opened LinkedIn, and I think that I should not be saying this out in a proud way, because people of my age are obsessing over LinkedIn. But I have felt this over the time, that there are so many people who are just uploading projects for the sake of uploading. It is not even that they are doing it completely, but they are still uploading because they think that it might be important to their CV. I don't even feel like there's any integrity left to that application also anymore. LinkedIn has now become a place only for self-advertisement, and as much as people would argue with me that Sanya, in job you have to self-advertise yourself, but I don't know, I can never get over this controversy that LinkedIn has become very toxic. More than any toxic relationship, it has become so toxic that for people who are genuinely working on something and it is taking them several months to work on it, and they're not able to compete with the pace of others who are uploading projects every single weekend, I think that is when they start seeing them and question their worth without understanding that that project might not have been completely theirs, but what they are doing is completely theirs. And And I think we need more and more people to educate people on how to avoid toxicity from LinkedIn. So I think that is when I guess this episode should be a very great platform to request people to digitally detox themselves from all this garbage that applications like Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube is just putting it into their lives. Please do understand that we have a world outside of our cell phones, outside of our academics, outside of everything that is causing you stress. And of course, like you said, that looking towards ourselves, like looking inwards, diving deep inwards is very important for people of our age.
So social media, screen time, it's great, but I think there is a need for digital detox, even if it means a detox on a daily basis, weekly basis, or monthly basis. In the end, again, I must thank you, Sanya, for talking about the need for digital detox in this age. क्योंकि आज के समय में हम सबको, be it a student, be it somebody who's a homemaker, be it someone who goes to work every day, has a physical work, or is engaged in content creation, it's so important to close yourself out and take yourself away from the screen time. Thank you.
Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining me in this podcast. I still cannot believe that I was here with one of the most famous Instagram influencers of yoga, an entrepreneur, and of course, a lawyer sitting with me here and joining me for this incredible episode. I'm definitely looking forward to creating a part 2 of this episode in which we can deep dive into some scientific importance of yoga and different asanas and kriyas. Till then, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned to Learnings of Life of an 18-year-old podcast.